Episode 20, Capacity to Disappoint. Hey creatives, I'm C. Jordan Blakera, and welcome to the Whispering Worth to the World podcast. I'm a master certified life and artist coach who specializes in working with creatives. This is where I share what I would tell my younger self if I could, what I've learned about the art of being human, about our inherent divine equality, and how it all relates to navigating our creative expression in the world. I'm going to start by reading you some words from Lisa Bramhill. She's an artist that just finished the recent CAC cohort, the Create Anyway Collective artist mentorship program that I co-lead. And this is what she said. I have been meaning to write you and David. That's David Limwright. Words are not my strongest. On that note, the best words that come to mind are thank you. Out of all the online courses I have taken, this course is by far my favorite, the best, and the one I have learned so much from and grown. I am so glad I took the chance. I needed the guidance. The small community of artists made it special and comfortable. A Boston saying, wicked awesome. And that is from Lisa Bramhill. And that journey that she took, both with her art making, her painting, and internally, was amazing to watch and made me so glad that I followed my instincts and co-founded that program with David Limwright, the Create Anyway Collective. Now, on to the capacity to disappoint. Have you ever engaged in people-pleasing behavior? For example, have you ever gone to a wedding or a baby shower that you didn't want to go to, but you went anyway? Have you maybe been in a crit group, which is, for those of you who don't know, painters will get together and they may show each other their work and give suggestions for how to improve the work or give their opinion of the work that's being shown. Have you ever been in a crit group or in some kind of a group where you don't express your real opinion and your real point of view? And maybe you couch the way that you really feel, or you stay silent with your opinion. Have you ever volunteered and came to the point where you didn't want to be volunteering anymore for that organization or that committee and stayed on a lot longer than you wanted to because you were people pleasing? You didn't want to disappoint anyone. Have you maybe picked a college major, not for yourself, not for the topic that you were really interested in, but for someone else, like maybe mom or dad, didn't want to let them down? Have you ever been in a relationship and wanted to break up, but waited way longer than you knew the relationship was over for you because you didn't want to cause heartbreak, because you didn't think you had a good enough reason to leave the relationship? So I think you get the picture of a variety of scenarios where we might not follow our own truth, our own true internal compass, but because we want to stay in the good graces of certain people, we will make a different decision. So let me tell you a story about a drive that I once took, and I was out there driving like I do, and I stopped to use the restroom at an establishment, and it was a single restroom. And so if I came out of the door and there were people waiting, and immediately what I saw was a mom with a 2 or 3-year-old on her hip, and then her son, who looked to be about 9 years old, standing next to her. And as soon as I opened the door, this is what I hear. If you make me unhappy, and she was looking down, the mom was looking down at the 9-year-old. If you make me unhappy, it's not going to be good for you. And I thought to myself, oh my God, welcome to your world. I want to give you my business card because you're going to need a life coach in 20 years. Because you're going to be living with that mom who doesn't want you to make her unhappy. And if you do, she's going to make it very bad for you. So what is bad for us, right? We can all relate to this. What might happen? What can you imagine that son was going through? Was he going to be, if he made her unhappy, if he disappointed her, if he didn't follow her rules, if he embarrassed her somehow, would she guilt him? Would she shame him? Would she punish him? Would she isolate him with grounding, or you can't see your friends today, or you can't play with your favorite toys today? Would she be mad at him? Would she be passive aggressive? My guess is that for sure he would know she wasn't pleased with him, and he would know it was being made very bad for him. So these are some of the ways that throughout our lives, we've been trained, indoctrinated to not make other people unhappy, people in our lives, especially people that mean something to us, because they can make it very bad for us. So I think we get thwarted in our capacity to be willing to disappoint people. And if we can increase our ability to tolerate and endure disappointing other people, we can live more according to our internal North Star and to our internal compass. So I'm going to speak specifically about disappointing people. And I think when we feel that we have disappointed someone, it might seem like we have let them down. We haven't been nice. We've been inconsiderate. We might feel obligated to do something. And if we were to disappoint someone, the problem is that we wind up thinking thoughts like, I shouldn't have done that. I should do something to fix this, which is usually their negative emotion, how they're feeling about it. I'm wrong. I've done something wrong. It's my fault. I'm responsible for them being unhappy or disappointed or feeling negative emotion. And I should fix this. And when we think thoughts like that, like I should fix it, I'm the one responsible, I'm the one who did this, we can feel like the villain. We can feel like the person who is disappointed is our victim. And we are sitting there, standing there, seeing them unhappy, sad, hurt, disappointed, and we can feel wrong. We can feel ashamed. We can feel guilty. We might feel rude or mean or unacceptable or unlikable or unlovable in having hurt this other person and having disappointed this other person. And so because that is so unpalatable to so many of us, to feel like we are responsible for someone else's pain, basically, someone else's disappointment, someone else's negative emotion, we don't like to think that we are the ones who caused someone else's pain. So we will do things like, instead of RSVPing no to the wedding, we will go anyway, and we might go to great pains to go to the wedding. So here's an example. I was just working with a client yesterday, and she was invited to a wedding in another state. She does not want to go. And her husband, his sister, the bride is his sister's daughter. Yes, the bride is his sister's daughter. And he was saying, I'm not really sure we're going to go. And his sister said, oh, my daughter will be so disappointed. And then when he got off the phone, he said to his wife, my client, the bride's going to be disappointed. My sister's going to be disappointed. And what they did was they changed family plans that are for next summer. They changed family plans in order to go to this wedding that she does not want to go to and that he feels obligated to go to. And now for her, it's beyond obligation. She's beginning to feel resentful. And that's the problem with people pleasing and with not being willing to disappoint other people. So we will contort, and she's trying to find something in that state and in that city where the wedding is going to be that she can convince herself that she could find some reason to go other than this particular wedding that for her reasons she does not want to go to. So we can feel cornered. We can feel like the victim of the person that invited us to something or is expecting us to be there. And the basic truth is that we don't really want to go, or we don't want to do that thing, or we want to change course, but we may not follow our true instincts because of how we think we're going to feel should we get some backlash from a person and they turn out to be disappointed with us, mad at us, upset with us, hurt, sad, whatever it is. So here's another fascinating aspect of this conundrum, which is this client that I was coaching yesterday. She said, I don't have a good excuse to not go to the wedding. And I totally get that. If we had a good excuse, quote unquote, good excuse, then we could feel justified in not going. Then we could feel, I think there's a high likelihood because I have such a good reason for not going, they will buy it. They won't be disappointed in me. Sure, they may wish that I was there, but they won't be disappointed in me. And then I won't have to feel bad. I won't have to feel like I hurt someone. I won't have to feel like I was letting someone down. I won't have to feel ashamed or guilty or like I'm doing something wrong. That's if she had a good excuse. And so I don't want to go to the wedding, or just RSVPing no, that is not a good excuse. That's not a socially accepted excuse that's going to be accepted kind of across the board by a lot of people. So a couple months ago, I was coaching another client, and this client was in a relationship that they wanted to end, and they did not feel like they had a good enough excuse, and that if they did, for example, if the partner was cheating on them, then they would have a clean out, quote unquote, a clean out, because that would be a good excuse. Then that person, that client, could be outraged and hurt by the partner. And then, of course, they would have every reason in the world to break off that relationship. But if the reason that you're breaking up is just, I'm complete with this relationship, I don't want to be in this relationship, now we face the prospect of feeling like a heel, feeling like a jerk, feeling like an asshole, feeling like you're not giving this person that you love and that loves you and that's been in a relationship enough of a chance, right? It's our viewpoint that we're going to have for ourselves. If we don't have a good enough excuse, a socially acceptable excuse, and we can't make a clean decision, right? A clean break if it's a relationship, or give a clean no where you're not going to get any backlash from anyone. So it's my contention that if we can increase our capacity to disappoint someone. So for example, with that client and the wedding, the husband doesn't want to disappoint his sister. The sister doesn't want her daughter to be disappointed. And now the wife, my client, she doesn't want her husband to be disappointed. So if she were to decide for her reasons to come to a decision that she did not want to go, and she were to say, husband, I'm not interested in going, she's going to have to endure, withstand, experience his disappointment, because now he's probably going to feel like he's in a jam. How's he going to explain his wife's absence? Oh no, his sister will be disappointed, right? And so far, everyone's feeling obligated. And so right now, everyone's scheduled to show up to that wedding. But if this client was going to take a new path and let her own decision and her own reasons for not attending that wedding be enough, and she's going to disappoint her husband and maybe her sister-in-law and maybe her niece, she would have to withstand that. She would have to withstand her brain telling her, you're letting everyone down. You've already promised your husband. You're going back on your word. Now you're a liar. Now you're not a good person. Aunts are supposed to go to their nieces' weddings. And so you're being a bad relative, right? She would have to endure all of that just to say yes to her own decision or her own truth that she doesn't want to attend the wedding. Now, if you're in a breakup, right? If you go break up with that person, can you handle that person in front of you crying, upset, wanting to be given another chance, not wanting it to be the end, not understanding, heartbroken, angry, frustrated, shocked. Can you endure that? Can we endure that? Can we increase our capacity to disappoint? I'll give you a creative example. David Limwright, the co-founder of the Create Anyway Collective with me, he had a show decades ago, and a collector came to his exhibit and came up to him and said, I came to this show specifically to find a new piece of your artwork to buy. And I've gone around to your whole exhibit and I have not found anything at all. I'm so disappointed in the work, and I just thought you should know that. And that's a hard pill to swallow for a creator, right? Can make you wonder, oh, maybe I shouldn't have changed my work. Maybe I shouldn't have gone in that new direction. And if nothing else, just to feel criticized, to feel rejected, to feel like, damn, didn't necessarily need to hear that tonight. Right? So the collector was feeling disappointed because they were super excited. Oh my gosh, I love this David Limwright piece that I have that I've been living with for years. Oh my gosh, he's got a new show. Can't wait to go. I'm going to get two. I'm going to have two pieces in my house. And then they just, according to their aesthetic lens, they didn't find any work that they liked. They didn't respond or resonate with the work. So can you be okay with that? If you're a creator, you for sure are going to put creations into the world, and people are not going to like them. They're not going to like them. And then they might come to have an expectation of you that they are going to like their work. And then you might disappoint them with your new body of work or your new song or your new play or your new performance. So the cool thing for David is that another collector came to him at a different show. This was earlier in his career. And she said to him, and he always remembers this, she says, you do your work and you let the audience, you let the viewer, you let us catch up with you. And that is beautiful advice for a creator, right? To go forth, to be willing to say yes to your creative inspirations, impulses, directions that your internal creative spirit are leading you toward. Can you say yes to that while also saying yes to the fact that those new directions or anything new that you make that's even in the same direction as your past work could disappoint someone sometime? So I think what can help us to increase our capacity to disappoint is to accept that this game called life on planet Earth comes with disappointments. We're going to be disappointed, and we don't get to escape disappointing other people, whether that's our parents, our siblings, our bosses, our employees, any partners that we have in a creative endeavor, like a theater group, a cast, an ensemble, a band, peers who are in a crit group with you. I mean, the weather disappoints me sometimes, right? I wanted it to be bright and cheery, and it's rainy and dreary. I'm disappointed by the weather. I can be disappointed by someone having a party 3 houses over and playing loud music into the hours of the night, right? There's so many disappointing things, and we're going to do things that disappoint other people. So I like to embrace that, accept that. For sure, that's going to happen. And even when someone totally loves you, like in the last episode 19, I talked about the friend where she was completely disappointing me in terms of how she was showing up in the relationship. And that's because she had a completely different internal compass. I'll give you just a case in point. I wanted to speak on a weekly basis for like an hour or more at a time. And she, with her 2 kids and being in a different time zone, she did not have this interest. And plus just how her tastes had changed. She was much more happy with small 5-minute phone calls here and there, 10-minute phone calls here and there, being able to catch up just for a few minutes between this event and that event. totally different preferences, desires. And what she had to come to terms with is if she was true to herself, she was probably going to wildly disappoint me, which is ironic because we were both disappointed in our own ways for many years. But when you're going to come straight out, right, you're not going to, what we do a lot of times because we can't just come out and disappoint someone is that we make up shit, right? We make up reasons why we can't go to that wedding. Sometimes we tell fabrications so that we don't have to feel like we've disappointed someone. We don't have to feel like a bad person. We don't have to feel like we've let someone else down or been responsible for their hurt feelings. And it would be just so much easier to tell them, oh yeah, we have this other obligation that we just can't get out of. So we're not going to be able to make it to the wedding. Oh yes, we would if we could, but can't do it because of this other obligation. You understand, don't you? Right? That's the type of thing that we do. But if you're going to be honest, as my friend was, to call someone important to you, someone dear to you, and tell them, hey, this is what's true for me. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be disappointing for you. And that's might even seem hurtful to you. And this is not against you, but this is for me to be true to myself. And you're pretty certain, 100% certain that you're going to disappoint someone that you love dearly. That's tough medicine. To be true to yourself can be tough medicine. Okay, let me also say this. I think the thoughts that create feelings of disappointment are thoughts like, I wanted it to go a different way. It didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. It didn't turn out the way I prefer it to. Things didn't go according to my preferences. I wish this wasn't happening. Those are the types of thoughts that lead to a feeling of disappointment. Oh, I wanted it to go a different way. Right? Oh, I wanted my aunt and uncle to be at the wedding. Oh, I wanted more people to be at the wedding than are on the guest list, the confirmed guest list right now. Oh, I wanted this relationship to go on forever. I wanted to marry this person. Oh, I wanted to find a second piece of artwork from one of my favorite artists, and I didn't find one. Things like that, right? This night when I came to the gallery to find another piece of art to buy, didn't go the way that I wanted it to. Disappointment. It didn't go the way I wanted it to. It didn't turn out the way I wanted it to happen. It's going differently than I would have liked it. It goes differently than our preferences. So that's all that's happening. And if that's what disappointment is, aren't we disappointed kind of on a daily basis by something? The traffic wasn't what I wanted to be. Oh, I wanted smooth sailing freeways. I got traffic instead. Okay. So the things that help me to increase my capacity for disappointment are that life comes that way. I am not going to be able to escape being seen as the cause of someone else's disappointment. And the reason why I went through those thoughts, right? This isn't going the way I wanted it to. This didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. I wanted it to be different. And because it isn't, or didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, I feel disappointment. That's all that's happening. So I believe that we create our own disappointment. The human that is feeling the disappointment has created the disappointment. And we can't stop them from looking at us and having the thought be, I wish you were different. I wish you loved me more. I wish you were coming to my wedding. I wish you liked my artwork. I wish you had created some art that I would like that I could buy. And we don't get to escape being the you in that sentence. It's going to happen all throughout our lives. And we have a right to our choices, to our agency, to our autonomy, to what we want to do with our time and our energy. I like to call that life energy. We are the authority, and we get to choose how we spend our life energy, even if that disappoints another person, even if someone else looks at what we chose and then thinks disappointing thoughts and feels disappointing feelings or feels hurt or feels sad or feels mad or feels put out or feels like that was disrespecting them. And whatever their interpretation is their interpretation, and it doesn't have to be yours or ours or mine. I get to make the choices that I want to make, and I also get to see those choices the way that I want to see them. I can see them as being true to myself, as being the way that I want to spend my life, and not as meaning that I, as a personality trait, I am disappointing. I am this shameful trait of being a disappointing person. So the last story that I will share with you is in episode 18 in Invitation to the Field. At the very end, I tell a story about being at the closing of a business that I worked at. And the story behind that story is that I had given notice at that company. And of course, all I thought I was doing was giving notice, and that I would no longer be employed there and that the company would go on. That's of course what I thought was going to happen. At any company that had given notice before, that's what happened. I gave notice and then I left and the company went on. Well, this owner came to me and said, because another employee was leaving as well, if the two of you stay, I will keep this company in business. If the two of you do not stay, I'm going to close the company. That was disappointing. That was super disappointing. I wanted that to be different. 100%. I wanted that to be different. I never wanted that to be the choice that person made. But of course, they had the right to do with their business what they wanted to do. It wasn't a threat, and it really wasn't an ultimatum. I think it was that person telling us the truth of the situation and informing us so that we could make our decision. Oh, the stakes here are a little bit bigger than you may have imagined, Jordan. And now that you know that, what decision do you make? So I had already thought long and hard before giving my notice. And I wanted to give a big on-ramp, so I gave 3 months notice. And I considered changing my decision, but the reasons for leaving still stood. I was going in a new direction. I no longer wanted to spend my time and my energy at this company. And so I stuck with my decision. And then I wound up at that closing gathering, seeing all the people that no longer were going to be employed and no longer could take advantage of the services of this company. And man, I can just feel that. Like there was such a possibility to feel very guilty of sticking with my internal decision. And I moved forward and I stuck with that decision. So yes, we will disappoint other people. Other people will disappoint us. So can we hold that disappointment? Can we hold the vibrations that go through our mind when our brain offers us, not when our brain tells us the truth about us, but just offers us, oh, you're responsible for all this strife. You could have done something different, you know. Did you have a good enough reason for sticking to your decision to leave this company? Was it worth all of this? Couldn't you have sucked it up for all of this staff and all of these clients who loved this company? Couldn't you have done that? And the brain will offer things like that. And then I just brought myself back to, this is the decision that I made. I have the agency. I have the authority. I have the autonomy. And I have the right to decide for myself what I'm going to do with my own energy, what I'm going to do with my life, what I'm going to do with my time. And everyone else does too. So they're going to be faced, other people, with this company closing, and they can process. And this will not be the only company that has gone out of business, because I've been on the other side of that. And I have people in my life who have been on the other side of companies closing. So it's not the first company that's closed, and it's not going to be the last one. right? And there'll be stops and starts and people will be disappointing people and all the things. Just pick any relative, we're disappointing them, right? Usually in some fashion or another, even if it's we didn't load the dishwasher right. So anyway, I want to invite you to consider increasing your capacity to disappoint other people. But the flip side of that is to be true to yourself and to realize that you can't get out of disappointing other people. So the antidote to people pleasing, the antidote to saying, I will alter myself and my behaviors and I will make choices so that other people don't feel negative emotion and don't feel disappointment, that instead of doing that and doing all of those gyrations to bend over backwards and be acceptable to other people and to not disappoint them, to increase your capacity to feel the vibrations in your body and to process the emotion of disappointing someone, of feeling you've done something wrong, of feeling guilty, of feeling responsible for someone else's feelings. If you can increase your capacity to disappoint, you will increase your ability to live your true life, your authentic life, and to make choices in alignment with your true core, your spirit, your internal compass. And it probably won't be comfortable, but we can all increase our capacity to disappoint. Hey creatives, I will have future classes and trainings on the self-worth of the soul, as well as stepping outside of the entire paradigm most of us don't even know we're trapped in, so that we can live and create with more innovation, invention, and infinite choice. Want to know more? Go to www.createanyway.today/soul. SOUL. That's createanyway.today/soul.